Okay, I'm live, but I screwed up. I somehow set the date for this supposed event wrongly for the 5th. And of course today is the 9th, so when I went to try and start it, it wasn't there. Okay, and so now I'm all alone by the telephone, and nobody knows I'm here. How stupid, but can I share it? Here we go. Share now. And we'll see if anyone shows up. If they don't, I guess it's not a problem. Somebody just asked on Facebook, so that's something. Weird. So I guess I'll just sort of hang out for a few minutes and see if anyone shows up. That was my bad. I don't know how I managed that, but it happens. So, how to do this? Not have dead air, I'll just put a song on. We'll see if anyone shows up. In the meantime, music. Of all songs, that was random.
Tired listening to these words, I know they are meant for me. I know they are meant for me.
This isn't the end, by the way, this is actually the beginning. On the other side of the liminalist. Probably start in about 10 minutes. Or when there's 10 people. Either one, whichever comes first.
I know they all come from long ago and only resonate now. But it's hard to tell which thoughts are my own when I keep hearing everyone else. I keep hearing everyone else. I won't listen anymore. I won't listen anymore. These words are yours. These words are yours. When you are born, everything you are told becomes you without your choice. Some point they become family of one, speaks with only one voice. speak with only one voice. These words are yours. These words are yours. Oh, you know you don't want to go with him, leaving me here alone. I must seem so insincere, but I just don't want you to know. And all you say is that in the backyard I saw some rain falling from above, making everything in my hands turn to nothing. It's not enough. While she lies there in her room, the shadows move across the walls, making everything in her head turn to nothing. It's not enough. On Sunday, I call suffering.
Good morning.
I asked them for help.
So I'm just trying to decide whether just to go over to Zoom or not. Because I screwed up the link or whatever. I'm not sure how or what happened exactly, but I'm thinking that people don't even know about this meeting. There's probably only just going to be a few of us, and whether we should just all go over to Zoom. Hi, Ollie. So it says there's 7 people, so that means there's 7 of you out there. So maybe you can decide, do you want to just go, do you want to take this over to Zoom? That means it won't be live, and it means that it'll be potentially more interactive. Please stay here, says Troy. Okay, so I wonder, did you just get a notification just like 5 minutes ago? So I still don't know quite how this works in terms of how people, when people find out about it. And I presume that I set it up a few days in advance, which is what I did today, and they get a notification. And then they show up. But what happened was I set it up somehow for the 5th of February, so that means people maybe showed up on the 5th of February and nothing happened, I presume. I certainly wasn't here. So anyway, apologies for that. So there's 2 votes for staying, which means there's the people who just want to watch, they don't want to go participate in the Zoom. The regularly scheduled time. Yes, I'm conditioning you like Pavlov's dogs to come and salivate at a designated hour. Okay, so I'll stay here, and I'll just proceed as usual then. All right, so I gave a title today, This Logos Beyond Logic. I was going to make a play on words, as in lo goes beyond logic, but I figured that might just confuse people. And the title was inspired by the conversation that was on Zoom after the last presentation last week, which some of you may have watched. I called it Beyond the Paranormal. But it's a very loose theme for today. I don't have a particular set of ideas I want to explore. I just have this underlying idea about logic and the logos. Obviously, the root of the word logic is the word logos, which is the word, and that's about it, really. What I do have is I'm going to start with an update of my week, because that's what I did last week, and because it has been quite an interesting week, and it just seems like it's a nice ordinary way to start a meeting like this kind that diffuses any illusions about this being some sort of higher authority speaking to you about deeper wisdom or any of that nonsense. Okay, so Sunday, after the last meet, there was a Devoshana online event. I forget the name of it. It was something about going into a conceptual space. Not sure how much I'm allowed to speak about these events, or rather how much is appropriate, because I'm not following any orders here. But it was different from previous Oshana online events. It was more interactive. It involved these breakout rooms, which you can do on Zoom. People can go off into their little groups and interact or connect there, and then come back into the larger group. So it felt as though there was something like the individuals there were becoming more integrated as a group. And that was interesting. I found that quite freeing up. I also had a experience of watching Dave. I became very aware of just how happy Dave is, and how at home in his body he is, and he was just expressing so much lightness and joy and enthusiasm, and just laughing, and it really stayed with me after the meet as something that I suppose it has to do with having developed more of a sense of that within myself, of becoming more connected to my own libido, my own life force, and beginning to experience it subtly in new ways. This primal energy or childlike energy of joy that is how the life force expresses and experiences itself in the body, in the incarnation as incarnate. I think that enabled me to recognize it more, and I realized that that's really what I appreciate most about Dave, and what I most want to emulate, although of course from the inside out, not from the outside in. So I'm not going to start trying to act like Dave, don't worry. But anyway, so that was Sunday, and then there was a meeting for Dave people on Monday, and that was a very profound event for me. And I won't go into the themes or the subjects or the reasons. I just wanted to mention it because it was a much more profound experience than the previous day's meet, in which Dave had hosted and which I had paid to attend. This was just a group of people meeting online because they wanted to, but all we had in common was that we had found Dave, and we'd found something in Dave. And so some of us had met in the flesh, some of us had met online, and then we came together for this event, and it really had a profound impact on me, and it was an opportunity to experience myself in a wholly new way, I'd say. And that really drove home to me the value of what's happening around Devashana, and what it means to me, and how it doesn't center around Devashana, and how important that is. That it's kind of the proof of the pudding, the enlightenment transmission, that it doesn't depend on this one person being there. That was just a focal point, or a thing that captured my attention, got me to move towards it, and by moving towards it I began to notice that others were also moving towards that, and to notice an alignment, not just with my own soul to this source, or this signal, or this transmission that was my soul, but of other souls also, like fish in the ocean, moving with the current towards wherever the current's going. I suppose maybe fish in the river would be more accurate, moving towards the ocean. And that is something that seems worth communicating. It seems to be central to what I'm becoming aware of, with this notion of the invisible community, that we are not necessarily all. It would be presumptuous to say it's all of us, but some of us do form this invisible community of souls, and that is the context. That is the deeper underlayer of our existence, that we're all of us trying to rediscover, and we can rediscover it alone and together, both. And the more that we discover it within ourselves, the more we can recognize it in one another, the more we can discover it in ourselves, and so on. That's an amplification of the signal that's occurring over time incrementally via this process of an invisible community uncovering. And anyway, so that was Monday. And very central to it was the bringing together of the male and female. And the group on the Monday group was all men, I mean, half men and half women. It was exactly balanced, the number of men and women. And that seemed that corresponded with something that I was experiencing within my own psyche, was coming into balance, these two sides of myself, my thought and my feeling, my body and my soul, my inner and my outer. Anyway, that night finished watching Russian Doll with my wife, which is a Netflix series. It's 8 episodes of 25 minutes, so one could watch it all in one. We didn't, but we watched it over a weekend, and we watched the last 4 episodes on Monday night, and it was a very profound experience, I have to say. Just to juxtapose the sublime with the ridiculous, perhaps there, but even a TV show can heal the soul, or contribute to a process of healing of the soul that is underway. Everything begins to conspire to our healing if and as we consent to it. The whole world becomes our ally. Tuesday, I think the most significant thing that happened on Tuesday is my shift in the thrift store. Had an encounter with this guy named Steve, who he comes into the store on and off regularly. I haven't seen him in a few weeks, actually. Flint Napper Steve, we call him. He has wild hair, and he often has skin problems, and he carries a guitar around and all kinds of baggage, and he's got all the clothes hanging off him, and he smokes a lot of weed and possibly other drugs, and he varies like some of the other customers between being quite cogent and relatively normal. He never really he always looks like a street person, because he is, and being deranged. And on this occasion, he looked well, his skin was well, and his hair wasn't too wild, and although I could smell the weed on him, he was stoned, he wasn't out of it, and he was quite cogent. And he started talking about how he kept hearing people talking in Hope, who was complaining about the people of Hope and how they're always talking shit. And he'd heard them recently, they were talking about some guy who was a junkie, and that he brought it on himself, whatever happened, and it was kind of, anyway, he was complaining about these people who were seemingly complaining about this other person who was a junkie. And at a certain point he said, maybe it's me, maybe they're talking about me, but I'm not a junkie, I've never been a junkie. And then, so that was curious, point number one. And then he started sort of explaining the people by saying, well, they were traumatized as children, so they're all fucked up, so there's really probably nothing you can do about it. And because he was so obviously a trauma